about our Christianity, you know, but we also have to refrain from doing things that the Bible uh, tells us not to do and does not condone. We've got to refrain from violence and from evil and from bloodshed. Our God, the God of the Bible, Yahweh, Jesus Christ, tells us to refrain from evil and to refrain from hurting others. We're supposed to protect them and to defend the weak. So essentially, you are commanded to lay down your lives for others. However, there is a certain point in time within a nation and a history, like, I mean, even your own family, you've got to be a man. You are a man, and that is one of your primary responsibilities as a human being. If you're a man, you ought to protect your family, and I think even rightfully so, at a certain point, protect your nation. And I have gotten to the point where I'm so sick of this shit. It has got me fired up, and it's like I feel like it's time where we as men gotta stand up to this bullshit and this whole fucking gun control agenda. Y'all want to take our guns away. It's like, what the fuck are we supposed to do when these terrorists invade and try to murder our women and children and rape them? And basically what they do is they come in, they murder the men, and then they rape the women and children and make them their slaves. And then they make them their wives and have a bunch of kids, and then they fucking populate and take over the whole country. That's how they do it. That's how they, dominate and want to take over the world through their fucking evil jihadist bullshit. That's what they believe. If you talk to somebody who really knows what they're talking about, and like in their religion, that's what they believe. All the other bullshit, the religious peaceful shit, that's not really Islam. Islam, at the core of its nature, is violent. That's their book tells them that it's more blessed to fight than to stay at home at peace. Those people who are at home and who are like the peaceful ones, it says that they're like lesser. It calls them like cowards, basically. And it's more blessed to go out and fight and to wage warfare than it is to stay at home and be at peace. That's what their religion teaches them. That's what the Quran actually says. So, all you liberal fucking bastards out there who claim this shit is so peaceful, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You really don't. And it really pisses me off, because one of these days we're all gonna have to find out the hard way. We already are. These motherfuckers just blowing shit up over in New York like it's no big deal. Like it's the 4th of July. Oh, just stick a bomb in the dumpster, no big deal. We'll see how many people get killed. Thank God, praise the Lord that marathon like had a delay, because man, we almost had another Boston Marathon bombing. Like, who knows how many people would have gotten fucked up, injured, and died in that bomb explosion. And they say they caught the dude now in a shootout and he's alive. Is it really one dude? I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. But if the one dude could do this shit, oh man, we're in for a world of fucking hurt, dude. We gotta get these fuckers out of here. And I don't necessarily mean that in like a violent or extreme kind of way. I just mean like when Trump says we gotta get those fuckers out of here and not allow them to come. I mean, I think back in the beginning when he was saying that, not a lot of people took him seriously. And even the people who agreed, like myself, I was like, yeah, I agree, whatever. Even though it was kind of extreme what he was saying. And I don't think anyone was... I wasn't thinking about it before that. I never had this thought, hey, let's kick out all the Muslims and the Mexicans. Like, that seems pretty extreme. Now I'm like, I don't know, maybe we should, I don't know. At least cut off the flow, But now, look at the shit that these motherfuckers are doing. Have you seen what these fools are doing in Europe? Even here, dude, they're taking over whole communities. And just like fucking people up bad. It's getting ugly, dude. So like, at this point, I'm like, dude, we don't have any other choice. We gotta get these fuckers out of here. If we don't, dude, oh my gosh, dude, oh my gosh, dude, there's gonna be so much bloodshed, and there's gonna be a certain point where we will have no choice but to fuck their shit up, because look at what this guy just did the last couple days. How many bombs did this fool plant all over the place? There was one at the marathon, one up the street that blew up the same night. 2 bombs blew up in the same day. And I think there was a third bomb somewhere else that they found. And then there was a backpack full of like 5 different bombs. So this dude had like 8 bombs. I mean, that is if it was even one dude. It could have been a whole cell. It's and the whole lone wolf thing, it's ridiculous in many ways, because is there really such thing as a lone wolf? They all prescribe to the same methodology and doctrine. He had a family. He was spraying in the back of their restaurant all the time. I think he went to a mosque, I'm sure. So obviously he's not just a lone wolf. They cohort with each other. And it's kind of ludicrous to think that some guy just got up one day and was like, you know what, I think I'm just going to go blow a bunch of people up. I think there's other people that are involved in this process. If nothing more than just discussion, I'm sure the dude talked about it with other people before. You know, there's a sense of pride in every community and religion, where I'm sure the dude probably got some, like, even if not here in the U.S., I'm certain he talked to people over in Afghanistan about that shit. I bet he underwent training when he was there to do this. That may very well where he got this shit from, is they probably trained him, put him up to this shit to do it. Even if it was years ago, dude's gone back and forth. So I'm sure he went through some kind of training to pull this shit off. You know, whether or not there was people actively involved in the recent, I'm sure there was, honestly, and I bet you his family members know about that shit before it happened. Just like in San Bernardino, like, I personally know 2 people. One of them I've actually spoken with, that knew about the terrorist before he killed all those 14 people. He talked to the dude. He even reported the dude to the FBI. Multiple people at my own church reported that dude to the FBI before he ever killed over a dozen people. So, on another hand, it's also like this shit is a psyop. It's like they want these fuckers to kill us so they can use it as an excuse to pull off, like, gun control. And anyway, I guess, I don't know, apparently nobody died in this one, which is very surprising. 29 people were lightly injured from shrapnel, I guess, but nobody died. It's kind of shocking. So maybe the guy wasn't that sophisticated, or I don't know. Maybe God just intervened and stopped that shit before it could get too ugly. And I'm shocked that the dude is still alive, you know, because normally they're always dead before you even get to see who they are and find out is this a psyop, is this a fucking cover-up, we don't know. But apparently this guy's still alive, so maybe we'll find out something. If it's not, like, made up who did it, I don't know. I fucking hate terrorism. I hate fucking cowards who run around trying to hurt others. I'm always trying to stand up for people and protect people that are getting hurt, and I end up being the person who gets assaulted in the process, and can't tell you how many fucking times I've had people come after me and try to hurt me. But you know what? It's like, as a man, you gotta stand up. You gotta stand your ground, and you fucking cross that line. You fucking be swift and bold, and you move like a lion. When a motherfucker comes to assault you, or to bring harm against yourself or your family or people you love, or even, like, for me, if I just see anybody, if I'm out and about, I see anybody like trying to hurt somebody, I'm like, hell no, that shit ain't going down, not here, not right in front of me. And that's one of the reasons why, you know, my life isn't the safest, you know. But I'm a man, and I won't stand back and watch fucking people get hurt in front of me. And I feel like that's our responsibility as men of God, as human beings, really, to defend yourself, defend your neighbors, defend your family and your friends, and even just defend random people walking down the street. You see an old lady, or even a man being hurt. It's like, do what you can to help them. You know, you may not want to risk your own life, or, I mean, I've never had a gun pulled on me. I've seen knives, I've seen all kinds of other shit, but um, learn how to protect yourself, learn how to defend yourself, and if you can, you know, legally carry a weapon or whatever. I mean, I think that's probably a good idea. It's really difficult to do anything nowadays in like California or New York or Chicago, which is bullshit. Chicago has like the worst death rate of anywhere. But I don't know. It's coming down to some ugly bullshit, and I don't know what to do. We gotta figure this shit out. I feel like people, just every average daily people, you think about the military, you think about the troops, and you even think about like militias. People think militias are really crazy. You think about people who are just physically fit and work out in general. People who are martial artists and people who teach self-defense. I feel like the way a lot of those people live, veterans, people I know, military people, I feel like at a certain point you got to begin to train yourself, and that's what I think I'm getting at. Is I feel like we as people, just everyday citizens, Americans, or even in other countries, even in Europe, I feel like it's coming to the point where we all got to start getting ready for what's coming. We got to train ourselves. We got to get physically fit. Seriously, there's a lot of fat people, a lot of unhealthy people out there. You better start getting in shape, because shit is gonna go down, and if if bombs start going off and bullets start flying overhead, you're not. I mean, your gun might save your ass, like, you know, here and there, and it may very well be the thing that saves you. But if you don't know how to hightail it and get your ass on the move, it doesn't even matter how many rounds you got in your AR-15. Even if you're locked and loaded for the apocalypse, unless you've got a whole standing army, and even if you do, that's the whole premise of warfare. One bomb could destroy your whole army. So you've got to learn how to be versatile and be in shape. A lot of people may not even be able to have weapons, and you've got to learn how to survive. Primitive survival, urban warfare, but really, really, most of all, faith in God, to be honest, because I mean, I've done a lot of research on this stuff and like prepping and everything. And the other day, me and a dude were talking about this, and he said something that made me think, and I'm like, he's right. Even though the dude was a total deadbeat loser, we were just talking about biblical prophecy. He was working on my car, you know, and I wish I had hired somebody else, because the dude was a joke. But what he said, though, I was like, whoa, he's right. In the prepper community, everyone stockpiles food and water and guns and ammo, and you got all your shit like lined up, or you try to. But even if you got all that shit together, None of that is any guarantee, and you may very well lose all of it, and a lot of people will. Um, Another guy was mentioning this. If you got all that gear and shit, how are you going to carry it? You know, if you've got a lot or a little, if you've got nothing, just the clothes on your back, I feel like probably one of the most valuable assets of all, and first of all, is your faith in God. Because if God decides it's your time to go, it's your time to go. It doesn't matter what you got on your back, how prepared you are. As the scripture says, the horse is prepared for the day of battle, but safety is of the Lord. So every time you get in your car and you drive down the road, you put your seatbelt on. And I mean, I would encourage that you do wear your seatbelt, because I've learned the hard way. Not that I wasn't wearing my seatbelt, I was, thank God. But that shit ain't cool. If you've been in an accident before, you know life and death flashes before your eyes. That's just every day driving your car down the street. Now imagine if war broke out. I mean, this, you wouldn't even be able to drive down the street. There'd be cars in the middle of the road blocking you getting through. That's warfare. That's what it's like in Iraq and Afghanistan and other places around the world. People fight every day just to survive. So whether you've got, you know, all your supplies and everything ready or not, you've even soldiers know, like, you got to know how to hightail it. You got to be able to get, you're quick and moving, head for the hills, be in good shape, be fit. And I think other than your faith, that actually probably is your next most valuable asset, is your health. In the whole prepping thing, I think that comes I think that is one of the most important things, is prepping and being prepared for what's coming. But at a certain point, I feel like there's nothing you can do to be as prepped as you need to be. Because when shit goes down, you're going to have no idea what's going to happen next. If a bomb goes off, your AR-15 isn't going to save you from a nuclear explosion, you know? And if a whole mob rolls in and they've got AR-15s too, and there's only one of you or 5 of you, and there's 100 of them, you're fucked. You're done. I mean, it doesn't matter how many rounds you've got. I mean, unless you've got a military fortress underground and you've got fucking turrets and all kinds of other crazy shit, which I'm pretty sure like nobody has that kind of shit except the government. At a certain point, you've got to realize that God is your only defense, and He is your only form of deliverance. And your own feet, are the very thing that may keep you alive. And that's why you've got these millions of refugees. I mean, you call them refugees, but the very nature of their religion, you see them invading. So they're not really refugees, a lot of them. A lot of them are soldiers, essentially. Um, but in our culture, um, we don't have this doctrine of death where we want to just run around killing everyone. It's more of a self-defense doctrine. We will defend ourselves and our neighbors if we need to. We'll defend our country. Whereas them, they actually want to kill people to expand their dominion and their kingdom of their religion, their fucking Islamic province, whatever you want to call it. But I think your health, your fitness is probably even more important than prepping itself. Because you got to be able to run and hightail it for the hills, because that actually is what Jesus says specifically in the New Testament to the Jews. He says to his disciples that when you hear of the abomination of desolation, which is spoken of by Daniel the prophet, let him that reads understand. He says that those who were in Judea Let them flee to the mountains. So essentially what he's saying is if you're in the city and those motherfuckers come in, whoever they are, whether they're your own government, they're foreign forces, your neighbors and marauders, whatever they are, whoever the fuck is coming for you, get the fuck out and head for the hills. That's what he's saying. And what struck me the other day when I was talking about this shit with this guy, and we were talking about what's coming, and we both knew it, even though he was like, I wouldn't have hired the dude if I knew he was such a loser, but he was like, doesn't the Bible say, like, don't even go back inside and grab your jacket or whatever? And I was like, whoa, you're right. So, on one hand, I agree with the whole premise of prepping, and I think it's a good idea, but it's not a fail-safe. So you could spend 50, 100 grand or more on prepping and buying all your supplies, your underground bunker, all that other shit. But it's very possible that you're not even going to get to use any of that, and someone else is going to take it from you. And if you're not even in good enough shape to get out and to escape and flee, then most assuredly you probably will die. I'm not trying to push that against elderly people and fat people, but to be perfectly honest, I've seen a few videos that were very convincing that like, those are some of the people who will go out first, because, and a lot of people say, oh, I got my guns and ammo, if you come, I'm waiting for you, That, to a degree, may be your defense, and I don't disagree with that. So I think our Second Amendment rights are of essential value in this day and age, and we need them. However, at a certain point, even your guns and ammo may not save you. And God, in the end, really is the only one who can save you. Because if you kill a couple fuckers that invade your property, and they got friends back in their camp, where do you think they're coming? You think they're just gonna let it go? And you killed their brother, you killed their dad, even if they were total scumbags and they were trying to invade your camp and steal your shit, you still killed somebody's brother and somebody's dad and somebody's uncle. So you better believe the people they know are now on your ass, and now they're gonna come for you. So I feel like, if essential, defend yourself, defend your home, defend your property, defend those you love. If necessary, use force, and if it's a life and death situation, then yeah, use lethal force and protect your life and protect those you love. That's your responsibility. But if you can avoid that, and if you can settle the conflict some other way, maybe you can barter. Maybe maybe they just need to get through the area. Maybe they themselves are fleeing for their lives. Be reasonable, Don't be a Gestapo motherfucker, because we are all going to need help when shit goes down. Be a caring neighbor, but don't bend over for people. And don't be foolish, don't be deceived. Don't let someone take advantage of you. But at a certain point, your guns may actually cause more problems than good. Not like, I think it's good to have them and ready, and if you gotta use them, use them. But if you can avoid it, don't. It's probably better for use of like hunting and security, and only if absolutely necessary to use force to protect and defend yourself and your home. If someone's threatening that, then by all means, you have the right to defend what is yours. But just know, if you take somebody out, you maybe will start a whole other chain of events that you don't want to deal with. And so you may have no choice but to bug out and get out of your bunker and head even higher up into the hills, into the high country. And you might have to set up your own primitive camp with whatever's on your back, you know. So you better be in good shape. You better be healthy and fit. And for people who haven't prepped at all, which myself, I'll just be honest, I mean, I'm not quite there yet, or I'd like to be, but I know I have my health, and I've tried to work on my strength a little bit lately. You gotta start training. You gotta start getting in shape, and just for the everyday shit. Like, man, people are violent nowadays. You gotta be ready to defend yourself. Shit is getting ugly. So, like, just be ready for what's coming. Don't be caught off guard. And first of all, like, believe in Jesus and have your faith right with God. Have your heart right with God. And don't let people take advantage of you. And fuck terrorists, you know. Fuck those motherfuckers, you know. But here, I want to bring another scripture to mind, which I thought about recently that is kind of eye-opening. And I mean, it seems like such a generic portion of scripture we've all heard and read and thought about, but for all of the gun owners, I totally like want to be an advocate of the movement, and I guess I am unofficially as a patriot or whatever the hell you want to call it, but Jesus himself does say that he himself who lives by the sword shall die by the sword. He who kills, he himself shall also be killed in the same manner. And when it talks about the abomination of desolation in Daniel, it says that many will fall by famine, by peril, by sword, by wild beasts, by captivity, by drought. So many things will cause people to die when this time comes, in the time of Jacob's trouble. But everything you can avoid to eliminate risk upon risk of your survival is the wisdom of God to preserve life and not to take it. So if you can avoid taking someone else's life, you know, like if it's possible to apprehend them rather than to kill them, to take their weapons, if they're a threat to you, if someone comes and threatens your life. But then again, I'm not a military strategist. I don't know shit about it, so it's hard to say. Well, if somebody tries to kill you, what do? You apprehend them, take their guns, and then what do? Just let them go? I don't know. Is there some way to talk it out, get them to be your friend? I don't know. It's really weird and sticky and ugly, and it's something that we've probably never had to deal with here in America, other than the Revolutionary War, the Civil War. I don't know. I don't know what to say, but it's going to get sticky, it's going to get ugly, and every person will have to choose for themselves. What do I do in this situation? What do I do in that? And when it comes, you won't have time to think. So you got to think about it now. You got to start thinking and strategizing now. What am I going to do if this situation occurs? What am I going to do if this happens? You've got to start thinking about these things, because when it comes, it will just happen like that, and then it will be over with. And either you will be dead, your wife and children, maybe somebody will be taken away and locked up in a internment camp, who knows? Or maybe the guy who came after you, maybe he'll be sitting there dead. And what will you do then? You're going to be like, I have blood on my hands. What do I do? Do you I mean, I just, the thoughts in my head right now thinking about that kind of scenario. How do you deal with that in a time of warfare? Will the authorities even be, will it be so widespread that it's known that people are just dying and it'll just be normal? You just keep going and bodies will be just laying around everywhere? I mean, that sounds horrible, but is that what it's going to be like? You know? Do you notify anyone about what happened? Or who's going to be at war against who? You don't know. In time of peace, we obviously know none of that kind of behavior is acceptable, but if somebody threatens your life, you do what you gotta do. Um, that's in a time of war. But even in a time of peace, it is beginning to seem like we are entering a time of war with the frequency of attacks that are happening, shootings, now these bombings in New York. We don't know who or where is next, who's going to get shot, killed, bombed, whatever. They're hitting us from all angles now. So if you find yourself in that scenario, you do what you got to do, you know. Um, I could conjecture what I think I would have done if I was in those scenarios, which I have many times. If I was in that nightclub that night, which I wouldn't be, because I would not ever fucking condone or endorse going to a gay nightclub, and I don't, I think that's bullshit to begin with, but it happened in France at a non-gay nightclub, and I've been to many concert venues just like that. That office building in San Bernardino. What if you were there? What would you do? In my mind, I think that I would have tried to find a way to get the dude and come from behind and get the gun and all that. And maybe it's possible. In fact, there's several scenarios where that happened and somebody was able to disarm the assailant, the attacker, before they killed more people. That's happened a few times. It's not common, but it's possible. It just goes to show you what a little bit of courage and bravery can do to save other people's lives, because you don't want people dying. You yourself don't want to die, but in on one hand, it's like in a certain spot, you might die regardless, And if you could at least save some other people, why not die saving others? And it may seem silly, but if you're in that situation and 5 or 10 people have already been killed and there's like 40 more left, and the dude's got an unlimited supply of ammo, and you've got like no route of escape, I mean, you can play dead, which some people have done, and that has saved some people when they play dead. So the attacker thought, oh, they're dead, I don't need to deal with them. But he may very well just shoot your ass while you're on the ground to prove that you're dead. And then you really will be dead. But, just think about that. If you're in that scenario and that shit happens, are you going to lay there and play dead? Are you going to run for an exit? Get shot in the process? This is the thing that my mind inclines towards, and I've never been in the military, but I've been assaulted many times. I've had whole mobs come after me. And I don't know, there's just this thing in my instinct that tells me if everybody just stormed the motherfucker, the fool would be done. There's 30 rounds in the clip. It sounds fucked up. Maybe 30 people will die, dude. But if there's 50 and he's only got 30 and you take that fool to the ground, I mean, that is if he doesn't have an explosive vest. And I think that's one of the things that everyone's afraid of. And they won't go near the dude because they're like, oh, maybe he's strapped with explosives. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But if all these people are going to die anyway, what do you do? If you could, within a split second, determine if it's even possible, which it's probably not, that the dude doesn't have explosives, or you have the instinctual thought process, maybe we could take this guy out before he kills more. I feel like in a military situation with commandos, that's probably what they would do. I don't think they would sit there and wait or run. I think they would storm the motherfucker. They would rush him, take out a K-bar or knife if you got a pocket knife on, which I guess is probably not possible in a nightclub. But even if you don't have a firearm, which most people won't have on them in this scenario because of our fucking fucked up rules and laws and shit that keep us from doing so, hand-to-hand combat is actually very vital. People don't realize it actually is possible to disarm someone with your bare hands. And the dude can't be pointed at every angle at once. And maybe you'll get shot in the process. Maybe you'll get stabbed. Maybe you'll get fucking blown up. But is it better to go out as a coward and die anyway, or go out as a hero having saved other people's lives? Maybe that's just something to consider as a civilian, American, patriot, even just a normal person, even a man. Maybe if you are in better fitness and shape and with a more resolute mentality, maybe you'll end up in that situation and very well maybe there isn't shit you can do. And a bunch of people are going to die regardless. But if in any way it's possible that you end up in that situation, do you think it will be better for you to be fat and lazy and out of shape, or that maybe just it could be that split fucking second that you had to capitalize on that guy's weakness and you took him out, all he had to do was turn the gun that way for a split second, and he was close enough that you took him out, like his legs, or you grabbed the barrel, whatever it is that you did. I'm just speaking hypothetically. I'm not speaking from experience. I've never faced a gun. I've seen knives, and that shit is scary. But I would just encourage people, the American people, civilians everywhere, like, be courageous, be bold, be like a lion. And when you see ugly shit going down, do what you can. Try to stop violence when you see it. And when it comes to things like knife attacks, that's something I'm wrestling with right now too, because I've seen this shit. I've faced knives several times. I've never been stabbed, thank God. But you read about these stabbings where a dude stabs like 10 people. How do you deal with that? And that's another thing I'm wondering about. I mean, for one, I think it's a very good idea at the very least to have like a pocket knife on you. This is just a little, like probably 3 inches, It's just legal pretty much anywhere, I believe. Pepper spray. I also carry pepper spray on my other side. I don't go anywhere without it anymore. This shit will actually give you even more of an advantage if you can deploy it quick enough, because this will give you like a 6 to 8 foot distance. And in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that's what they say. The one who controls the distance controls the damage. Now, this isn't going to be effective against a gun, obviously. And I actually learned the hard way recently. This actually is only effective in an isolated scenario. This is not effective against more than 3 to 5 attackers. I learned that the hard way recently. This can be effective against one person, maybe against 2 or 3, maybe 5 at most. But I learned the hard way. Look at this shit. Look how small this shit is. This shit runs out quick. The second this shit is done, dude, it may be over for you, Like, I found the hard way. I'm a strong, quick dude, and the dudes eventually left, but I had 15 people surrounding me. And thank God I got the main dudes with this. They're mad. They want to come after me now. But I got them at that moment to protect and save somebody else, an innocent woman. But this shit runs out quick. So you better have a big one of these, and probably don't spray this into a crowd. Like, it's probably what I learned the hard way. But to defend yourself and your life, this really, I've used this. I've actually saved other people on multiple occasions with this. I think this is probably one of the best things to have. Is pepper spray that will give you a 6 to 8 foot distance if you can deploy it quick enough. A pocket knife, thank God I've never had to use either, and I don't even know the technicalities about this, but as far as I know, I think pretty much mostly everywhere in the U.S., there's the understanding that if your life is in danger, you can use lethal force to ensure that you yourself are not killed. And that's with the premise of I feared for my life, you know. But thank God I've never had to go there, and pray you never will too. But for example, if a dude busts out a knife, whether it's a terrorist or another person, and he just wants to run up and start, shanking people, what do you do? Well, essentially, if you're unarmed, there is basically nothing you can do but use your bare hands and use either Krav Maga or hopefully in some way get enough people to stop the dude or escape before he kills anyone else. Don't bring a knife to a gunfight, because if the cop comes with the gun, he'll get you if he's got the distance. But a knife can actually kill a person with a gun if it's close enough. But if you do find yourself in that scenario where yours or other people's lives are threatened and someone with a knife comes out, and I would say if they haven't stabbed or hurt anyone yet, then to just, you de-escalate. You say, look, dude, don't do it. It's not worth it. Try to get everyone away. Diffuse the situation. But if you can't, and if someone's already, and I've never actually seen it where someone's actually stabbing. I've had knives pulled out on myself several times where they didn't actually go through with it, thank God. And I've seen other people pull them out, and I've never actually had to see it happen, thank God. But I know it happens every day. But if you are in that scenario and you have like a knife, for example, if someone's coming at you, that's probably one of your only options. If you can get away, but if you can't, you got to pull the weapon out to let them know, look, I'm not going to just let you fucking kill me, And if it's a knife fight, that's one thing. But even just to let them know, look, I've got a weapon too, so if you're going to come at me, I've got this blade also, and you're not just going to kill me without a fight. Now, in a scenario like what we hear about, these people getting stabbed up by these terrorists or whatever, I guess it's up to you to discern in that situation. Are you willing to risk your life to save another person? Because I've personally never pulled out a knife on anyone ever, and it's never come to that point. I've seen knives pulled out, but generally it doesn't go that far, and it's like you hope the situation diffuses before that. But in a life and death scenario, you don't have time to think, and you do what you got to do. I'm just saying, the times we've known throughout our lives of relative peace and all this, whatever we're going to call our civilization, our society, I think honestly a lot of that is coming to an end. And I say that with respect to someone like Donald Trump. I know that it's possible that it can turn around. I know that it's possible that we can change it and we can somehow bring back the good old days. You would hope that somehow we could get things back to order where people aren't just killing each other every day. You would hope we could get it to that point. But if not, if society does continue to denigrate and destroy itself from within, essentially at some point you're going to have to realize that sitting on your lazy ass watching YouTube videos every day, which I myself am very guilty of, at a certain point you've got to realize we got to start getting ready for what's coming. Like, we got to start training. We got to start being prepared. And like, if you can't, for example, buy shitloads of food, and maybe you can't get guns and ammo, pretty much everyone has access to get, a cheap pocket knife. I literally found this one. I mean, I don't encourage that, picking up a knife you see on the street every day, but I've actually done it several times. Not like, if it was really fucked up, I mean, yeah, it seems weird. Somebody could have used that for something. I don't know. But generally, I've found literally knives for like $1 or $2 at Walmart. That sounds ridiculous, but you can get a knife for very cheap, a pocket knife. It's just, I use this for everyday things, cutting food, cucumbers, oranges. I use it when I'm working on my car, cutting stuff. Most men probably have a pocket knife on them from the day to day. This one has a seatbelt cutter. This is a window breaker, where it's like a Jeep knife. So if you're trapped in a car, you can smash the window out to get out and cut the seatbelt. Having like a survival knife. It's a very practical and useful tool to have, just to carry on you every day, just for practical uses. And in the self-defense scenario, I pray will never have to be used. I haven't, thank God, and hopefully I never have to. But if you can't carry a gun, probably the next best thing is, pepper spray and a pocket knife. There's other small little self-defense tools they make too you can carry. But just know, like, the days of even the conventional attacker, mugging, whatever, I think even that is, like, I've dealt with that a lot. But I think we're coming to the day of mob mentality, mob urban warfare. I'm seeing it more and more. You see 10, 15, 20 plus people rioting in the streets, sometimes hundreds, thousands. You start seeing the rioting, you see everybody attacking people, you got to get out. When I saw those 15 people attacking that girl that day, I stormed in like a lion. I stopped it. I sprayed them. It all stopped. They wanted to come after me. But man, I didn't think of the effect that would be, dude. Those fuckers were mad. And you gotta be careful. So I don't encourage people to go doing that shit. I'm a bold motherfucker, but be careful. Don't go out alone. Protect yourself. And read your word, read the Bible, read the Word of God, and defend yourself, protect yourself, be ready for what's coming. Can't say I know exactly what it is. Fucking terrorist attacks, shootings, nuclear war, weapons of mass destruction, solar flare, EMP. I don't know what the fuck's coming, but I think it's safe to say we all know that shit is coming, and it's coming to a town near you. So be ready when it does. Be prepared. Have your faith in God. Not in the arm of man, but however, I still feel like it is essential to be ready. And even Jesus, when they went to the Garden of Gethsemane, he told his disciples to bring 2 swords. He said that. He said, bring 2 swords. That is enough. Basically, I think he said so the scripture would be fulfilled, that of all that he gave me, the Father, I would lose none. So basically, when they came to take Jesus, all the other disciples fled and they were able to get away. They didn't arrest any of them. And even Peter chopped the dude's ears off. Not saying that you should go chopping people's ears off, but be ready to protect yourself if need be and those around you. Even if it's with your bare hands, learn how to fight, learn how to protect yourself, learn how to get in position and posture. And for myself, I would say, don't go out alone. It's a dark and ugly world. It's getting ugly out there, and I would just encourage you to give your life to God, and stay safe, yes, and love one another. And yeah, prep as much as you can, but when it comes down to it, every man will have to find his own way, and every man will have to answer to God for what he's done in this life, and whether he took life or whether he preserved life. And so therefore, um, do everything you can to preserve life, to protect it, and to defend it. But if need be, at all costs, avoid violence, avoid doing harm to others. But if at all costs, avoid violence. But if absolutely necessary, if there's no other means of escape, or use force if you have to. But I can't tell you in your particular scenario. I can't make that decision for you. Every man will have to decide for himself whether he has a way to get out or he has to fight or flight. You do one or the other. But being able to flight or fight is another scenario. If you're fat and out of shape or old, you may not be able to do either one. Maybe all you can do is hide. Even hiding knowing how to hide is an asset you can have. But if all you could do is just sit down and lay down and die, oh man, that's not a good way to go out. And I pity you, Please don't be that person. Don't be the person that's out there being brutally harmed, that when I have to come along and I have to step in and put myself in harm's way to protect and defend you. Because I will. If I see you being harmed, if I see a person out there being harmed, I'm going to do everything in my power to intervene and to stop that from happening. I mean, there's a certain point where myself and even others can't do nothing. Like the cops come and hopefully they can handle it, even though they normally don't. Call the police and hopefully they can get there in time, but pretty much 98% of the time they're like 20 minutes too late. That's always my experience. Call the cops, hopefully they can help, but don't wait for the cops to come. If your life is in danger, don't wait till you're dead for the cops to show up, because the cops won't save you in most scenarios. And I've learned the hard way. You'll either be injured, beat up, you'll be dead, or somebody else will be, I would say the flight mechanism is probably better. If you can get out as quick as you can. But if you're not in even good enough shape to get away, you may have to stay and fight. And in that case, you're probably not in good enough shape to fight. So be in good enough shape to fight or flight. But probably flight comes first. If you can't get away, you have to fight. Be ready to fight. And let your opponent know that, look, I'm not going down without a fight. I'm not going to lay down and die. You're not just going to kill me or chop my head off. If you're going to threaten my life, I'm gonna make you pay for it. You're gonna hurt. If you wanna inflict harm upon me or those I love, you're gonna be sorry for it. Not as a thing of vengeance, but just as a look. If your desire to hurt me is greater than my desire to defend myself, then by all means have at it. Because I know as a man, I'm not going to lay down and die. I'm going to do whatever I can to protect my own skin and those around me. And to hell with anyone who says anything otherwise. You have the right to protect yourself. You have the right to defend yourself. You have every right as a human being, as a citizen of the United States of America, of any country, to defend yourself. But I'm not gonna speak for other countries like Guatemala and all those other fucking third world countries. I've not been there. I don't I don't I don't envy you if you live in some of those places. Do what you gotta do. But if you live in America, do what you can and within your rights, exercise your right to defend yourself and others, and don't be caught off guard. Don't be caught unaware. Don't get killed. Be ready for that shit when it comes, and maybe even be aware before it happens. Maybe you can see the warning signs. Maybe you can stop it from happening. Maybe you can alert someone. Maybe you can get the cops there before it happens to prevent it from happening. Tell the police, tell the authorities, tell a bouncer. If you see something, like they say something. It sounds retarded and stupid, but if you see bombs, backpacks, shit like that just laying around, I mean, they say, like, if there's a bomb, you better tell somebody. And I've at times wondered, if I saw something like that, would I tell anyone? Because on one hand, you're like thinking you're scared. You don't want them to think, oh, it's me, but who would report that? Because for me, like, I got this long beard, right? And I don't want people to think, oh, look, it's a crazy guy. Maybe he did it, right? But literally, think about it. If I was all clean cut, looked all clean and polished, and I was saying all this same shit, just the very nature of the way I look, it's like, oh, is this guy crazy or a threat? No, it's like, I like long hair. It's peaceful. This bandana just keeps my hair up, so I don't get it dirty when I'm working. But just be wise. Be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove, as the Bible says. Be like ready to strike, but at all means refrain and be a peace, a warrior of peace, like the martial arts teach us to be able for combat, to be prepared, to be ready to even use lethal force if necessary, but by all means, if you can refrain, if you can avoid that. Like this knife I've been thinking about lately, if I ever had to use it, I better know how to use it, first of all, because if someone's coming at me with a knife and both people got knives, oh, dude, nobody wins. But on another hand, maybe I could use this little thing on the bottom. That hurts. Like, even just barely tapping myself with it hurts. And this side of the knife is metal. Man, that would split someone open, but it wouldn't penetrate them. It wouldn't kill them. It might even knock them out. But it would hurt. Like, I feel like if somebody got hit with this, they'd probably be like, oh, fuck, I should stop, So that's something to think about. There's other defense things you can put on your keychain I've seen before. A lot of times girls have them as a little spike thing. Some of those things freak me out, honestly. The thought of it freaks me out, the thought of hitting someone with one of those, because it's like, that would, just even a knife. But life and death scenarios are totally different. You don't have time to think. You got to do what you got to do. So just be wise, be ready to do what you got to do, but avoid conflict and harming others at all costs, and be a person of love, be a person of peace, and try to prevent evil when you see it. Do whatever you can to stop others from being hurt, and be a messenger of peace, be a messenger of the gospel, be a messenger of hope and faith and love, and the grace and peace of our God and Savior Jesus Christ. peace and love and all those things. Grace and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ, all of you. Rest in the hope that is found in Jesus. I love you all.